What's up? It's Chef Bay, and you're listening to the Plant Remedy Podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. If you are a returning listener, hi friend. If you are brand new, welcome to the show. I am a plant-based chef, a cookbook author, obviously a podcast host, a recipe developer, all the things, and all the things relating to food, mainly because I love to eat. And I'm just so happy that you're here, that you've tuned in. We have a really amazing show for you today. And I'm just so excited about this episode. I've been really excited about this episode for weeks now. And I'm so hyped that it's finally live. We have some awesome updates for you guys. In the last couple of weeks, we've made a huge announcement over on our Instagram page. We officially announced that we did sign a brand new book deal at auction, which is so exciting. And I know so many of you guys have been asking me about when's the next cookbook coming out, just floods and floods of DMs. And I'm so excited that I finally got to announce that it's coming soon-ish, kind of. It's coming in 2 years, but it's coming. So yes, you guys, we decided to take our viral Breaking Up with Dairy series and turn it into a book, like a dairy-free Bible, if you will. And so that's coming out in early 2025. And I could not be more excited. I'm in the process of writing the book right now, and I was going to wait to announce it until it was available for pre-sale, but so many of you guys have reached out, just like really anxious for the next book, and it has been already almost 2 years since Cook, Heal, Go Vegan came out, which I just can't believe. And so I just wanted to give you guys just like a little sneak peek, like some VIP access as to what's going on behind the scenes. And yeah, we're working with Hachette on this book, which is a different publisher than our last cookbook, and I'm just really excited for this new chapter, for this huge level up in our business, and just in the content and the quality of this book that we're going to be able to produce. So it's a really big deal. There's tons more, but I can't really share too much because we're in the very beginning stages. But I really did just want to announce that with you guys. My podcast fam are my literal ride or die, VIP fam. I love you guys so much. You stick with me. You have stuck with me through so much, and I just really appreciate you and love you, and I wanted you to know. So yeah, that's official. That's the newness, and I just can't wait to help all of you guys break up with dairy. I can't wait to help be a part of the cultural shift of getting rid of dairy products in our life for good, and just waking up to what is dairy lobbying, what is, bought and paid for nutrition recommendations from the government, because it all goes hand in hand into chronic illness, into environmental issues that we're having, into animal welfare problems. It's all bought and paid for. It's all about the money. And so we're going to transform that into it being about our health, into it being about delicious food. And we're going to try to get everyone to break up with dairy. It's a big mission, but I think that we can do it. With awareness, literally anything can happen. So you guys, we have an amazing show. Like I said, we have someone that I have looked up to for a long time, someone whose career has just exploded in the last couple years, especially. It's Darin Olien. You might know him. He is the co-star of the show Down to Earth with Zac Efron on Netflix. I think that's where a lot of people found him. But he also has a podcast. He's written a best-selling book. He's a superfood master. He's a wellness expert, and he is just a wealth of knowledge. And I'm just so excited to have him on the show. We have an amazing conversation. We are very much on the same page about a lot of things. We're talking all about fatal conveniences in this episode. And the fatal conveniences can be anything that is convenient to us. So the thing that you might think about the most is processed food, but we're going to talk a lot about cleaning products, our cell phones, all these things that are contributing to a lot of these things that we're suffering with. We talk about my journey with endo a little bit. We talk about his journey with his father. It's just really good. We talk about so many things that are very easy to connect with because I think a lot of us go through the same things, even though a lot of times we think we're suffering alone and like we have to suffer in silence, or we feel like we're on this deserted island all by ourselves with these symptoms. This podcast really opens up the fact that like a lot of us are going through the same things and why we're going through these things and what you can do about it. So it's very informative, it's very educational, but it's also giving us some tips on how we can kind of minimize our impact to these things that we're exposed to that's causing us to have these symptoms, have these chronic illnesses, all these chronic ailments. Like, it's just so good. I just vibed super hard in this episode, you guys. So I hope you love it as much as I did. And yeah, if you guys, of course, if you love the episode, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. It helps so much. Or if you're listening on Spotify, you can give us 5 stars on Spotify. Or if you're over on YouTube, go ahead and hit subscribe, give that thumbs up button, and leave us a comment of what your favorite part or like maybe what your biggest takeaway was from the episode. Before we jump into the episode, I do want to let you guys know about our 14-day plant-based challenge. I'm so excited about the plant-based challenge for this season. We like to do them seasonally. The reason why we do them seasonally is because we love to just integrate new recipes into the meal plans. We feel like every season is a chance to just start fresh, right? I think that life just gets a hold of us and everything can just kind of get super fast. And before you know it, your New Year's resolution is long gone and it's April. So we kind of want to like bring that energy back into like what our original intention was in the beginning of the year. And it's also Earth Month in April. So I really want to help all of us be more earth friendly, more friendly to our bodies, just more conscious of everything that we're doing and everything that we're eating. And so if you're not 100% plant-based yet, or if you are and you just want some more inspiration, we are starting our plant-based challenge, our spring edition, on the 10th of April. You can get the whole challenge that has 6 weeks of meal plans. So it's much longer than 14 days worth of meal plans. That way you can kind of just pick and choose. There's a meal plan for the cookbook, and then there's 4 weeks of meal plans that have clickable recipes as well. And it's going to be really great. I'm so excited. So that starts on April 10th. And we're also, this time, we haven't done this in years, but we are doing a live masterclass called From Processed to Plants. I got really inspired from recording this podcast and just talking to a lot of people about processed foods and like the chemicals and the additives that are in our foods right now. And so I'm going to teach an entire hour-long masterclass that's going to be live. So you can be in the room live with me. We're going to cook together. We're going to answer a ton of questions. And we're just going to talk about how to really get rid of those processed foods, because I think a lot of times we easily kind of like lean into those vegan processed foods, especially when we try something new, or if we're like in a rush, or if we're feeling really busy. And so I'm going to show you how to make some of my favorite things that you would normally buy processed, to make them at home really cheaply, really inexpensively, and really quickly. So I'm really excited. That's going to be on April 15th at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you can't make it live, of course, it will be uploaded into the curriculum of the course, so you can watch it whenever you want. And the 14-day plant-based challenge is laid out like a course, so you can go at your own pace. You have daily videos, daily like inspo, daily tips, daily resources, and 6 weeks worth of recipes and meal plans. So you get so much for your money on this one. It's less than $2 a day. And I just cannot wait to do another plant-based challenge with you. So go to www.chefbae.kitchen/challenge, and that's how you sign up for it. It's super simple. You just enter in your email, your payment info, and boom, you're in. You can start as soon as you want. You can start today if you sign up today, but we're going to be starting as a community on April 10th so that we can be doing the challenge and feeling super amazing by the time Earth Day comes on April 22nd. Okay, that's www.chefbae.kitchen/challenge. Now let's get into this incredible episode with Darin Olien. You guys are gonna love it. All right, guys, what's up? Welcome back to the show. I'm here with Darin Olien. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh man, great to be here with you.
How's your day going so far?
Epic.
Yeah?
It's yeah, a rainy day here in California, probably the rainiest winter in 20 years of being here. So I wake up to a raging river in my backyard and just vibrant green. And yeah, it's fantastic.
I love that. Yeah, I'm in San Diego and everyone here like does not know what to do with all this weather.
Exactly.
It's a
Yeah,
little bit
it's
of chaos. Yeah, totally. I know I have like my fireplace on, which never gets any love usually, but I've been using it more lately than ever. So that's pretty awesome.
yeah, it's been cold too with all of that. It's been a
It's
very cold
cold.
winter. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know, I know. It's in the 40s here, like a lot at night, which I remember I've lived in San Diego for 8 years. There's maybe like two winters that got down to the
Mm,
40s, and I feel like it's
mm.
been like that for a couple months. So, where in California do you live?
I'm in Malibu, in the hills
Oh,
of Malibu. Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
yeah,
So
perfect.
yeah. Yeah, we've had several days of frost. The first time ever, I was taking my dogs. I'd take them for multiple runs a day on the
Yeah,
property, and I was on a mountain bike. And being the Minnesota kid in me, I can spot ice,
yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, that's ice." So I'm coming up on ice, and the dogs were coming down a hill, and and so they were like losing their grip. I died laughing, and that was the first time ever that I saw legit ice at my place. It was pretty phenomenal.
That's
Yeah,
nuts. Yeah, this
yeah,
weather just makes you think all the things, especially when you're thinking about like the environment and like everything that's going on. I'm just kind of like holding on a little bit, like, uh-oh, is this the beginning of a lot of crazy winters coming up? And I wonder what the summer's going to be like too, with all of this happening.
yeah. It's an interesting every direction, and it's an interesting world right now.
Yeah, totally. Well, I ask every guest this at the beginning of our show. What is your favorite plant-based meal right now?
Oh, oh my gosh, my favorite plant-based meal right now.
As a chef, I'm the
Fast
most
food.
intrigued. Fast food?
Uh, Fast food. You know what my fast food is?
What?
It's a it's a banana, it's a
Okay.
date, it's a dragon fruit. It's
I was shocked when you said
people.
that.
That's why I said it. That's why I said it. Because that's the greatest. It's nature's fast food. So
Yeah.
it's easy to get like make complicated recipes and stuff. But when in doubt, like yesterday, I was super busy
Yeah.
and I was in between things. I'm like fast food. Like I just start grabbing all my fruits, throw them in a bowl, and I'm eating in 5 minutes. Like
Yeah.
the best ever.
It's literally
Like
what I just ate like 5 minutes
yeah,
ago.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
totally.
it doesn't have to be complicated. And making a salad in 7 minutes with
Hmm.
either pre-made dressing, and I like to take dressing and just amplify it,
Yeah.
right? So like I'll take a raw living spirulina and miso and ginger and apple cider vinegar and make the most amazing dressing that actually almost pale. You could actually just slam that as a super shot. It's so good, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I like to make my salads with that, and then of course I take my favorite nuts and I throw my barukas on it, and but that's nature's fast food.
I
It's
love
really
that.
simple.
That's such a good answer. Yeah, as a chef, like I love to overcomplicate things because it's just in my nature. But as a human who's very busy, I find myself eating like I just moved too, so I find myself eating like the most simple meals lately. And it's just like
Mhm.
so energizing. It's not stressful. There's very little dishes. Like there's so many like positive
Totally.
sides to it. And yeah, I love the concept of just like superfying your dressing because
Mhm.
traditionally dressing, I'm classically French trained. So traditionally dressing is something that's full of like raw egg yolks and canola oil or whatever. When
Right.
it's just like tossing your food with a bunch of bullshit, when you really look at dressing as something that can just like amplify your meal and give you so many more nutrients and make you feel so amazing versus kind of like weighing the meal down. So, yeah, I'm totally
Totally.
with you on that. I love that. Well, I feel like a lot of people know you from your most recent thing, which is your Netflix show, Down to Earth. It was pretty amazing. I loved watching
Mm.
it. especially with my friends who like weren't plant-based, because I felt like you really made plant-based so palatable. And just the way that you kind of talked about it, it's just like kind of like this easy breezy thing where you just kind of like turn down the things you didn't want to eat. And it's just like wasn't that big of a deal, which is how I really like to talk about it as well. I mean, it is a big deal, but it doesn't have to be this huge like thing in
Totally.
the room all the time. But I'd love to talk a little bit about just kind of like your journey up to this point, because you've had an incredible career. And in case someone doesn't know who you are, just to get a little bit of like an introduction.
Yeah. The quick of it is the enlightenment happened when I was hurt in college football.
Mm,
And then this kind of coming together with I really love training and I'm building my body and overcoming things by that, and a hardworking person from Minnesota. And so when I get hit with adversity, and this is really from a monologue before my dad passed away that he shared with me, from the outside of him looking at my life. And if I'm hit with something, I'm gonna eventually figure out the best positive outlook on it. That's just
mm,
what's gonna happen. And so I've worked that muscle unbeknownst to me in my life. And so when I get hurt playing college football, I made it my career. I switched majors and I started studying physiology, nutrition, and kinesiology, and exposed myself to this just unbelievable miracle of this, rent a body that we get in this lifetime. So um that was, and I kind of walked down that rehab path. I hooked up with this great guy. Shout out to Dale Greenwald out of Boulder, Colorado. I moved there and worked as an exercise physiologist, and we worked with people rehabbing from injuries and things like that. And it was very interesting and fun. But then I was always like working this nutrition angle, being lectured by retired doctors who would go to this Colorado university and give me piles of nutritional data that was really before the internet was clicking into a thing.
mhm,
And then and so this was kind of parallel path, and I'd start working in the food space. So I started working as an athlete, still kind of perceiving myself as an athlete. I was still kind of putting together my own little power bars, and I started selling creatine out of lockers in the gym and to the Minnesota Vikings, because I was a very good friend of mine. Shout out to Ariel Solomon, who was this massive 6'5", 300-pound lineman that we trained together in the off season. And so I started literally selling supplements, just as kind of another way. I was passionate about it.
yeah.
Got to connect up with a pharmacist, Ben Fuchs. Shout out to him. He's got actually one of the greatest skincare lines on the planet. Um, and so that kind of just led me down this path. And so eventually cut to, I was very, functionally working in formulation before functional foods and adaptogens and greens and prebiotics and probiotics. Before any of that kind of became a thing, I was flinging it into products, and I was like, okay, I've got to show up, because
Yeah.
I think the genesis of who I am is like I've got to meet the farmers. And so just so happened that the farmers and the collectors were in the Amazon or the Andes, and uh so I threw myself into that, and then I started aggressively superfood hunting and formulating. Got hired by Beachbody, created a product called Shakeology, started in 2006, came out in 2008, and it still is one of
Yeah.
the top selling meal replacement uh, uh, products in the country. So and then I think, just cut to, so I don't belabor this intro too long, but it was being in the middle of the jungle or on a mountaintop at, 25,000 feet, not really 25,000, more like 15 to 17. Um, uh, Being in these locations and seeing, from everything from islands, poverty, Southeast Asia, Africa, blah, blah, blah. I started to become of real big global issues of
Mm.
water, power, food, shelter, that every direction off of the beaten path I was seeing.
Yeah.
And so this is just so alarming to me. Number one, as a superfood hunter, finding incredible botanicals that no one knows about that are healing and assisting to the body. That is phenomenal, right?
Hmm.
And then number two, when you're seeing suffering happening at the face of us as a human family, was just devastating. So I got involved in water projects throughout Africa. We got like 700,000 people clean water. I had meetings with Obama's grandmother in the middle of Kenya, under a mango tree, like all kinds of things that was something. And then along that way, I started meeting good friends of mine, like my buddy Chris Patton, who's dedicated to clean energy tech, and so these worlds were just tied to a global exposure. And this stuff gets in my DNA. These people, these families, these environments, this geology gets in my DNA. And so, very long intro cut to, I'm sketching out an idea of a show because people kept wanting to do a superfood hunting show, but it never was really good
Yeah.
enough for me to take that much time to do. And so I started writing like, well, what if I superfood hunt and I do all these other things that I really care about? And I started writing out what a show I would want to do now. And I had written that down. And then just months and months later, right, I get this random, text that I said was okay to share my number from Zach, kind of introducing himself and saying, "Hey, I love what you're doing. You heard me on the Rich Roll podcast," and then we developed a friendship. And then just later on during that, I wasn't even pitching him. I was just telling him what I was interested in doing, and then he just kind of walked, that whole concept that I had into, down to earth, and the journey began there.
I love it. That's an incredible story. And I'm actually from Boulder, Colorado myself. And so
Come on,
I swear,
really?
yeah. Yeah. So it's a good place to start like this
Oh man,
this nice little journey getting connected to like, all the things. My mom was always like a crunchy granola mom. So, I
amazing.
was connected to
Yeah,
that.
I was there from 94 to 2001. Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
No.
Yeah, it's a great place. And I
Mm,
love how this has kind of like transitioned into what you're doing now, which is your book, which is
mm,
called Fatal Conveniences, which I am like, when I saw the title of your book and when I
mhm,
just kind of started reading a little bit of what is inside of it, for me, I connected really personally to it because I have struggled with endometriosis my entire life and
mm,
going on and off with, we talk a lot about that in this podcast, like doctors that just don't get it, and also just like the chemicals that are just everywhere. And it's
mm.
really interesting because, a lot of the listeners on this show identify as female, and women go through so much. Like 80% of women deal with period pains. 1 in 10 women have endometriosis. Fertility rates are higher than ever. 1 in 4 women experience a miscarriage. And like these numbers are growing and growing and growing. And
Mm.
it's alarming and it's scary. And for me, I mean, I talk about this in my programs. I've talked about this on the show before, which is why I was so excited to have you on, is like, I really want to talk about why just a plant-based diet isn't enough. Like, I feel like it's such a great
Totally.
place to start. And I feel like
Yeah.
changing your food and changing your diet is such an amazing, empowering place to start. But a lot of
Mm,
times it falls short because of
mm,
the fact that we are surrounded by chemicals and it's just like
yeah.
making us so sick. So I'd love to hear kind of like your take on that, especially from just like a woman's health perspective.
I mean, you nailed it. Obviously, I wrote my first book on SuperLife, so these pillars of health,
Yeah.
and, and that's a good start. Um, and this too is extremely personal to me because my father suffered chemical sensitivity in the 90s. And so he was starting to, in order to just be around him, I
Mm.
had to detox my clothing and my deodorants and my shampoos. And so I was coming home from college, he'd send me these care packages of like clean, unscented, vetted products.
Yeah.
And so my dad was a very high functioning, smart double masters, tenured professor at the University of Minnesota, like just empathetic, like very similar to me, as we found out later in our lives. Um, uh, because he wasn't really exercising the truth of who he was for a big part of his life. But so I got involved because I started to feel better as a result of only detoxing myself. And I'm like, how is this possible? So, and then I have my career and I can continue to do the thing, but on the side, I continue some reason in my life. I have these extraordinary mentors that show up and a big shout out to Dr. Mohsen Hourmanish, that comes from sixth generation herb farmers in Iran. And I met him and he changed my life in terms of how I looked at certain systems. And one thing he told me 25 years ago, he goes, watch out for this cell phone. It's a fatal convenience. Because the thing about Mohsen is he literally would have to make up words uh, uh, that would fit his trying to describe what he's seeing. So he came up with that combination. He goes, yeah, of course it's a convenience, but it was, on the one hand, not, I can unpack that whole thing, but the EMF is a big chapter in my book, and
Yeah.
there's wildly weird connections in terms of doing similar things that many chemicals are doing, meaning that it's endocrine disrupting, it's lowering testosterone in men, it's increasing infertility, and it's causing free radical species, and it's compromising the immune system. You're like, wow, that's invisible. That's a cell phone. And then if I look back at personal care, I look back at the, by the way, 100, on average, 100 chemicals or products with gnarly chemicals, um, are we're all getting exposed to. So a normal woman is being exposed to a minimum of 100 chemicals. Of those, over 70% of them are either carcinogenic, endocrine disrupting. And so endocrine disrupting, think about that as a hijack of your master glands, the thing that's regulating your body. So endometriosis, uh, all of these things are downstream effects
Right.
of these disruptions, these
Yeah.
hormonal disruptions, and children radically going into menstruation way too early because of these phytoestrogens,
Yes.
the weird, these plasticizers. So think of plastics. Anytime a plastic is malleable, that means there's a lot of phthalates that they use to make those malleable, and those just happen, unfortunately for humans and mammals. They are estrogen binding, so they mimic these estrogens in the body, so then it forces your body into a cascade of what's perceived to be as estrogen. So it's throwing off, it's plummeting men's testosterone, it's increasing way too much of the phytoestrogens, and this has detrimental consequences. And the scary thing is that of the 60 to 80,000 toxins that are emitted, man-made,
Yeah.
emitted in our atmosphere and our environment every year, 1,500 are tested,
Yes.
and only tested very conservatively. 0 are tested as they interact. So
Yeah.
so any product you use has interactions of several of those chemicals. Any multiples of, you take a shower and you're being exposed to the water, and you're being exposed to your body wash, and your shampoo and your conditioner. You come out of the shower and you're putting on your lotion and you're putting on your beauty products. And I guarantee if you're not consciously picking products that do not have all of these things in there, then you are just an incubator of a chemical romance that you don't want to be partaking in. And this is the invisible, to your point, you said it beautifully, because I also agree with you. We can do this all day long, and I'll get to your point. That if you don't deal with this invisible issue, if you don't take on the regulatory aspect of your life, because the regulatory bodies don't exist, they do very little. Doesn't mean that there's not great people in those companies. And I'm talking about USDA, I'm talking about the FDA, I'm talking about the FCC, I'm talking about the EPA, all on and on and on. They do not have your best interest, nor do they have your children's best interest. So part of needing to write this book is because of this invisible threat that is only increasing, and that staring at 20 researchers over 2 years, digging into thousands of research articles, trying to conclude each chapter with some sort of sense of understanding, because they're just massive, from personal care to beauty to food to EMFs. This is bigger than the tobacco industry, and it's more pervasive, and it's more dangerous.
Yeah.
Because it's, okay, you can see smoke, you can avoid smoke, you can do stuff like that, but this, it's almost impossible to avoid it. And at the least, we need to try. And so going back to plant-based and just taking that up a notch, as you're a chef and the power of whole food, fresh food, plant-based doesn't mean healthy, because ultra processed is also extremely dangerous. I think, and I'm using those words very, very purposefully. And so minimal processed, or if processed at all, that's where there's other infiltrations of some of these fatal conveniences. And you could call it flavoring, you could call it in the personal care, you can call it fragrances. So the flavorings and fragrances, they have this massive loophole where if the company says this is a trade secret, so they may have 100 different chemicals in that flavoring, or in the, it even could be a natural flavoring. And or a fragrance, they get this loophole where they don't have to disclose. And the studies around children's products and food is so alarming that over 50, I think it was about 50, there's a study about 52% of the food and products tested, many were cancer causing, many contributed to birth defects, many were endocrine disrupting, leading to serious, and obviously the connection to ADD and ADHD is also connected. So it's wild that this is happening. This is I couldn't, my father has since passed away, but my book is dedicated to him, and it's dedicated to all of us that are born into it, that didn't have a choice, that these systems are in place, and that we need to realize, unfortunately, they ain't got our back, that we do. Having these conversations with you, this is the most important thing. I believe that at my core, because you and I we care about our friends, our family, and then we can have this discourse. We can spend time and dedicate our lives to clean eating and clean living and doing the research and putting these things together, and with the sole purpose so that other people don't need to suffer unintentionally or unnecessarily, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's that it's a wild. I mean, it's shocking to me every time I look at a fatal convenience that some of these regulatory bodies, even they know about it. They
Yeah.
absolutely know about it, and
Oh,
yet
for
they don't
sure.
regulate it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I first went on this journey, for me, it started with food because that was like the most obvious for me. And as a Le Cordon Bleu trained chef, I was like, it's totally fine. Everything's fine. And then when you start to really look at like what's happening, how, animals are raised, how the food is grown, all the chemicals in the food, you're kind of like, whoa, this is nuts. And then for me, it was also around like feminine products is really where I started to kind of look into those fatal conveniences, makeup, hair care, cleaning products. Like when the pandemic happened, my endo symptoms were out of control because everywhere I went was just like covered in bleach. Like the grocery
Wow.
stores were covered in bleach. Like everything was just, there was just so many chemicals everywhere that it was just like so overwhelming. And I think the hardest part is like my parents, my grandparents are so, my parents not anymore because they have me as a, as a daughter. So I let them know all the things I'm feeling about everything. But, they're so trusting of the system. And I think that really, has been passed down to generation two, where people think like this is on the store shelves. Like, why would this be poisoning us? Why would this be allowed? Like, there's no way that this would be legal. And I think that it's such a shocking revelation to wake up and see and realize that like we are all being poisoned kind of on purpose. And it's really sobering to really realize like what's happening.
Yeah, I think you bring up a very, very good thing. It's the Matrix, you
Hmm.
know, on steroids in a sense, because it's slow and steady, all of
Yeah.
these things. And the when you pull that string, when you really grok that, those diapers that you put on your child are dangerous,
Yeah.
right? For someone to truly get that, like, I'm not making this stuff up in my book, right? This is stuff that it's out there, but it's not being talked about. It's not being regulated. It's studies, well done studies that are showing these things, and for some reason allowing it to happen. The crazy world is that the you don't have to prove a product is stay safe before you sell it. That's the wild thing. And it's
Hmm.
true in the supplement world as well, and personal care. So if there's a mounting if there's mounting injury of some kind, or someone gets sick, then they do something about it. Like, what?
Hmm.
How is that possible? Like, literally, how is that possible in this day and age that you can? So they've you know we also, again, we came from it, so we didn't we realize we thought too that the products I buy are virtually safe.
Hmm.
But then when you realize over time that they are not, and they have, like forever chemicals, right? The derivative of Teflon. Okay, so they're trying to take now, they're finally starting to take directly Teflon off of pans, right? So they've
Finally.
started, finally, and these are so harmful,
Hmm.
like extremely carcinogenic. And they go into you know, they go into the category because no one wants to actually say they're carcinogenic, but they go under the label probable, right? Like, first off, effing,
Yeah.
what the hell is that even probable? That you're selling something that people are cooking on, and of course, heat is always a great conductor and release of other things. So
With oil,
it,
so it's just binding to the oil and the
oh,
fat.
it's a
Yeah.
perfect like shit show.
Hmm.
And so, okay, enough pushback. By the way, it's been it's been around forever, and it's called a forever chemical. So it
Hmm.
bioaccumulates in your body and it bioaccumulates in the ecology.
Yeah.
So it does the same thing. So as it's hurting your ecology and your ecosystem, it's also detrimental to the ecosystem. So all of this stuff goes hand in hand. And so, but those PFAS, as they're called, the
Hmm.
derivative of Teflon, the godsons of Teflon. Um, they're now in waterproof jackets. They're now in a baby bib that's easy to wipe off. They're now in makeup, so it doesn't wipe off. They're now on
Yoga
uh,
pants.
yoga pants, receipts. They're now on the wrappers around uh, fast food. The yoga pants. The anytime, if anyone listening here now hears the word stain resistant, run, because that is a chemical coming together of using, not to mention what it's made from, is a whole nother discussion. But the
Hmm.
final kind of layer they put on is non-stick PFAS. So they basically shifted from your Teflon cooking ware to your clothing, to your baby bib, to the trying to make some sort of convenience so your
Yeah.
stains don't stain on your clothes. And then we're in them, we're sweating in them. It's transdermally getting in. So what's on the skin goes in the body. And so now you've just sucked in all of these endocrine disrupting carcinogenic compounds and in the environment they forever bioaccumulate.
Hmm.
Um, so why the hell are they in these products? I think it was like about 2 months ago that they did a test because PFAS now is starting to. There's campaign for safe cosmetics is doing a good campaign. Environmental working groups doing a good campaign. California's trying to minimize and reject some of them. Yeah, but I look at this stuff and it's like that's just PR, man. You
Yeah,
guys knew
totally.
this stuff. I don't. You're way too late. You're way too late. And but yeah, of course you need to do it. Um,
And not moving
so
fast enough either.
of course not. No, no,
It's
no.
like,
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah. So it's it's this thing where people can live their life. It's not my job to try to convince them, or you don't need to try to be perfect chemically free life. It's not my job. My job is to my responsibility that I feel I gladly will take on is give some information
yeah.
so that you can make a better informed choice because like our parents, they believed this stuff was okay for them. They
Hmm.
believed it's healthy and it isn't, and it's massively affecting. We are sprinting towards our own. If you just look at the endocrine system alone, if you're
Yeah.
just looking at the motility of sperm, the the plummeting of testosterone, the increasing of phytoestrogens, the endometriosis, the painful periods, the premenopausal symptomology, the prepubescent sprinting towards children.
Yeah.
Just looking at all
Cancer,
this,
breast cancer. Yeah.
yeah,
Thyroid cancer. Yeah.
exactly. It's like thyroid, testicular,
Hmm.
asthma, respiratory, like it goes on and
And
on and
on.
on.
Yeah.
And this is the invisible nature to this thing, right? So what do? We I'm not saying get rid of your conveniences. I'm just saying make a better choice. So a third of the book is dedicated to vetting companies that are doing it a lot better, right? So less and less exposure. So that's the goal. You
Yeah.
just take one thing. Hell, if just people open a book, I guarantee you open the book and just start reading a
Yeah,
page, you're guaranteed going to learn something. And then there's going to be something that you can change in your life, right?
totally.
Get rid of the plastic water bottle, just get a nice filter RO or distillation unit, couple $100, get a nice glass bottle, add some unrefined salt to it because you don't want to have empty water, and boom. Now do your best to not drink out of plastic ever, right?
Hmm.
And these kinds of things, they're simple, but it's like starting with the awareness
Right.
that hopefully you're like me. I mean, sometimes I get pissed without a doubt, going, what?
Yeah.
What is this doing in a product? And why is this possible? And I stopped asking why, because I realized that for whatever reason, I can't, privately, I can probably come up with all kinds of reasons,
Yeah.
but I do pretty powerfully, pretty knowingly know that the God that we worship in this part of the capitalistic world is money,
Yeah.
because it's clear it's money way over the health of
Anything.
your children, of your dogs, of your life,
I
right? And
mean,
that
if you
playbook.
if you look at
Yeah.
dogs too, they have, the highest cancer rates of
Mm,
of any animal.
yeah,
Or it's one in
yeah,
two dogs get cancer. And you really look at that when you
yeah,
look at their food, you look at the pesticides that are sprayed all over the grass, you look at the water, like it's just like mind-blowing to me that it's, normal that dogs only live to be 7 or 8 when really they should be living to be, 17, 18, 19 years old. And it's like, no, like there's something here. And I agree with you. Like it's hard not to get angry and like so frustrated. But I think it
yeah,
is, to anyone listening who's like just starting this journey or, this is probably really overwhelming in general. Like I feel like this conversation can be overwhelming, but I love what you say. It's just like one thing at a time. Water is super important. You're made up of so much water. So like figuring out a way to get clean water, not drinking out of plastic, and then starting like one product at a time. And I think that works the
yeah.
best. So like you run out of foundation, like buy a clean foundation. You run out of body wash, buy something new. Like I think cleaning products, I just toss
Mm.
the Clorox right now. Like
Oh
once
my
you're
God.
done listening to this podcast, just toss the Clorox, buy cleaning products. But yeah, it can get overwhelming. And especially for people, who are dealing with poverty or in lower income, it's a lot harder because especially talking about Teflon pans, like buying non-toxic clean cookware, 100% stainless steel or whatever is expensive. And it's hard for people
Mhm.
to, live in a non-toxic world if you're just like, living paycheck to paycheck, or you're just trying to pay the rent, you're just trying to do what you can. And I think that's the most unfortunate part about all of this is it's hitting those communities the hardest, I feel like.
Yeah, yeah, I agree 100%. They've made it that way. They've taken, this fast consumer cheap products and fast fashion and all of this stuff have
Hmm.
made it so cheap, and then it plays into the insecurity. So like, if I buy this, at least I'm not poor, but I'm buying 99-cent something that's toxic as hell. And my suggestion would be, save up, buy one great one that's not gonna, in terms of a pan,
Yeah.
buy one pan to start that's, you know, stainless steel or whatever, and then and then expand from there. Because these things are, yeah, I mean, that's it's almost the predatory nature of these ultra cheap things
Hmm.
that are also threatening. And by the way, the DIYs, you start getting into the DIYs, it's massively cheap, right? You
Super.
can make your
Yeah.
own laundry detergent, you can
Hmm.
make your own shampoo and toothpaste and deodorant, and I put a bunch of DIYs in the book too. It's like, when you start to really just take you know,
Just go all in.
buy the
Yeah.
separate. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know about you, but when I do those things, I feel so much better too. It's like,
Hmm.
because something about it is integrated,
Yeah.
like you truly know
Exactly
what's
what's
going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel the same way. And I will say too, like you can find some really awesome, expensive, non-toxic cookware thrift for super cheap. Like I have found some
Yes.
incredible, like
Right.
100% stainless steel pans thrifted, and you just like soak them in some baking soda, you scrub them down,
Totally.
and like they're
Yeah.
brand new. You'd be surprised what people get rid of because they just don't want to like clean it properly or it has like stains on the bottom or whatever. So there's definitely something for everybody. It's just like I think knowing where to look.
100%. Yeah. And I love that now in terms of like clothing and stuff too. I love digging into the upcycled side of it and finding
Yeah.
people that are like taking upcycled, but then they're taking a few t-shirts and then making
Hmm.
one t-shirt. And it's like it's unique,
Yeah.
it's cool, it's fresh. It's like because clothing is a whole,
Yeah.
clothing is a whole nother crazy world,
Yeah.
right? That just throw out this stat that's so alarming on the one hand. How many chemicals? I'll give everyone a second to guess. How many chemicals do you think it takes to make one t-shirt? So A, 5,
Okay.
B, 2,000,
Okay.
C, 8,000. 8,000.
Yeah, I was gonna say
C.
8,000. You seemed really confident when you said 8,000. So I was gonna go with that one.
8,000.
Insane.
8,000.
Not to think of,
8,000.
I always think of the people making these clothes too, like especially Shein, there's like that whole thing going around where they're literally saying like, please help me in the tags, like
Yeah.
because
Yep.
of the fact that,
Yep. Yep.
people who are working in these factories making these toxic clothes have high rates of cancer. Like I mean,
Yep.
it's pretty much slave labor too. So it's like they're
Yep.
sick, they're cramped, they're, malnourished, and like you're paying for that,
Mhm. Yep.
like you're supporting that type of industry. So yeah, buying thrift clothes like is literally the way to go, if you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah. And it isn't it definitely is a
Hmm.
slave. I was just got
Yeah, it
to see
definitely is.
Livia Firth, and she's been a amazing advocate for uh the clothing industry,
Hmm.
and I had her on my podcast as well, but she's physically seen the situation in these areas, and then they're just forcing these people. But yeah, so the thing that was so blaringly obvious when I was writing this book was you put that t-shirt on that's full of azo dyes, which are carcinogenic, endocrine disrupting as dyes, so they're lofting in your face, whatever the prints are, whatever. But then it's formaldehyde, it's phthalates, it's plasticizers, it's petroleum, and it just goes on and on and on. So all of these things, you put it on your body, it's contributing. I'm reading studies where literally clothes are contributing to infertility. And so then,
Mm.
like you said, these things are inherently tied. And they're tied so much so that you could easily have an environmental conversation about the industry, because the industry of fast fashion. So number one, you are wearing those things, and whether you are fully aware of it or not, it is affecting your life. It is affecting your hormones. It is affecting your immune system.
Yeah.
It is over time, right? And then those factories and that environmental disaster and the amount of thousands of liters of water it takes to make one t-shirt, right? Um, the amount of petroleum,
Hmm.
elastane, lycra into jeans, like, and there's a satellite image I think it's called the Pearl River or the Blue, something like that. But you can see when they're making the jeans from the main factory where they make blue jeans, from a satellite, you can see the stained blue from blue jeans in the river, right? And they're no longer using real indigo, right? They're using,
Mm-hmm.
they're using chemicals. And so now that industry is massively polluted and it's polluting you. And then when you go wash your jeans, for example, 50,000 bits of plastics are breaking off every wash. So now they're going back into
Into
your
the, yeah.
your environment. And so it's this really bad cycle.
Yeah, it's
So what do you
awful.
do?
Yeah.
Keep your jeans. Don't ever buy any blue jeans again, right?
Mm.
Unless you can prove, right? So keep those jeans. Get some other ones. I just found a really cool upcycled old pair of jeans. The older the better, right? So just
Mm-hmm.
they've already, you don't have to throw away your old jeans. Keep them, and then have a
Yeah.
buddy or a friend, patch them and make cool patches and use it as a way to create your own style. And I find every once in a while, I don't like shopping, but in this way I really do. Like I'll go on Etsy or something and I'll look up like who's doing upcycled.
Yeah.
Like I had all these old Harley Davidson shirts, but they burned in the fire, and uh and I just went on. I'm like, where's some old Harley? So they don't
Oh my
off
gosh, my
gas
dad is
anymore.
a
They're
Harley Davidson shirt collector. That's so funny. He has like so many. It's
no big.
insane. It's truly insane. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
And I think for women too, you can you can make jean shorts out of men's upcycled jeans. Those
yeah.
always fit the best too. And it is overwhelming, but it is like when you have that urge of consumerism or when you need to restock something, just like keep this conversation in your mind, or you can go to your book when it does come out and really be like, okay, how can I make a better choice moving forward? Because there's really no going back. You only know what you know when you know it. So you just have to move forward with what is and not let like the anxiety of our past or what's happening get in the way of you trying to make better choices. I mean, I hope that people like us can band together to try to make some sort of change on like a bigger corporate legislative level, because I feel like personal choices matter to an extent, but like I don't know, like if is this going to change? Is it ever going to change? It's just so frustrating. I
Well,
feel like, what are we going to
well,
do
we
about
do
it?
it. I think what you said, we do it. Like I'm in
Yeah.
the process right now because I've been staring at this for 2 years and vetting companies. I'm moving forward. I'm making a clean vetted market space
Yeah.
for all products. So you come into this, and we've tested it, we've validated it, we've had them prove, and that's what I want to do. It's like,
Yeah.
so imagine Amazon if they actually tested all their products and everything
I
else.
love that.
That yeah, because it's like, because
Who do
because
you
we can't,
trust?
who
Yeah.
yeah, who's going to do it? Well,
Right.
clearly the people
Somebody
you
has to.
thought were supposed to
I know.
aren't doing.
I'm like,
Yeah.
do I get into politics? Is this where my career is going? Because I'm that mad about everything, but probably not because that doesn't really do much either.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
the thing that we have on our side is we have 8 billion of us.
yeah,
We have people. And so
exactly.
we slowly wake up awareness
Yeah.
for people. I wish this I'll tell everyone right now. I wish I didn't have to write this book. I wish it didn't exist. I wish
Hmm.
that your products were clean. I wish they didn't have carcinogenic compounds. I wish they didn't have endocrine disrupting chemicals. I wish they didn't have derivatives of known, disrupting immune system compromising. I just wish that that wasn't the case. I really, really do. I wish that wasn't the case of my father suffering. I
Yeah.
wish it wasn't the case, but it is.
Hmm.
Like it's all over in all of this stuff. So, as in anything, you for real freedom, we have to face things from, you know, personal relationships. If you really want to be free and fully expressed, you got to be willing to share your needs, your desires, and have open clear, clean, healthy communication with your partners and everything else. The same is true with life. There's a
Yeah.
certain reality that we go, okay, I'm a dreamer. I like to get clear and go after things, and I have tons of things that I still want to do in this world. And I don't want to be here in my body, because people can listen to this and go, I just want to live. Okay. But you can say that all you want in your head.
Yeah.
Your body is the physical part of your existence, and
Yeah.
it's being hit with hundreds and hundreds of these chemicals every day. So
Yeah.
all I'm asking is just start to minimize your exposure, and plus you're gonna feel better, I guarantee it. And to your point earlier, we can make other choices and shift the progress to companies that are doing good, that have thought of these things, that are doing it in the face of these other crappy companies and products.
Yeah.
And then we can just shift, and we have those numbers to help shift that tide. And corporations, governments will follow. You have enough pressure,
Mm-hmm.
they will follow. We just can't fall into this fear. Like, oh
Right.
my God, I'm overwhelmed. Oh my God, someone else has to do it. Oh my God, I just want to be in, okay, that's fine. Put your hand in the sand and let me know how your life goes.
Well, and that fear, I feel
Right?
like, is also a symptom of feeling sick and not inspired or not empowered. So the second you start to feel, that was me at one point, I had chronic illness. I was like, I am in pain in the hospital all the time. How am I supposed to do anything? But once you really start to, take the reins of your life and feel better and feel vibrant and like feel like you have some sort of control over yourself and your body, then you can kind of let that be a ripple outward, which is exactly what I've done, which is exactly what your dad did. It's like kind of, I feel like how a lot of us get to this point of where we're at is we got over that. And now we're like, okay, let's do something about this, because it's more than just me. It's more than just you. It's like a whole big thing. And we're all dealing with bullshit from the same things, which is, these chemicals, which is these fatal conveniences, which is the food. So
Totally.
yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I do this with every guest. If you have a couple minutes, I do a speed round really quick. So I'm going to ask you like 7 questions and just give me the first thing that comes to your mind.
Yeah.
All right, you
All right.
ready? All right, what's
Yeah.
your biggest passion outside of your job?
Working on the clean energy tech that I'm doing, clean water, power, food, shelter.
Oh, I love that. I feel like we could do a whole
Yeah.
podcast about
Well, that's a lot of information behind
that.
that statement.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, totally. Okay, what is a big personal goal that you have for yourself this year?
Um, the biggest person this year,
Hmm.
uh, uh, is to grow. I don't know if it's my biggest. I have so many big, but one I think around my company Brukas, because we almost lost the company through a lot
Mm,
of changes. So that thing I want to be 10x by the end of the year, because we have an amazing team, an
it's
amazing
awesome.
product, doing great things on the world. So yeah, that's top of the list.
I love that. What's your favorite place in the world? Or
Oh,
where is your favorite place?
besides here in my home, and uh,
I mean, I always
uh,
say my house too, honestly.
it's so. I mean, I love this place. I'm staring at the mountains. I'm listening
Yeah,
to the river in the backyard. I mean,
that counts.
it's okay. Then that's my answer.
That's a good spot. What's your favorite way to unwind?
Um, Hanging on the couch or in bed with my dog at the side, and then watching a good documentary.
Hmm. Same,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
Who or what are you the most inspired by right now?
Um, a couple people come to mind. I'm inspired by I'm involved in this company, but he's been a friend for 17 years, Chris Patton, and he is unwavered in it's back to the clean energy stuff.
Mm,
His ability to people have no idea what like some of the stuff he just turned air into a fuel source,
Wow. Cool.
into clean fuel source. So I'm inspired by him, and I'm also inspired by Paul Hawken and his relentless work for the environment and looking at things directly and numbers, and he's very passionate, and he's also very connected to solutions. It's not just, doom and gloom. It's connected to what we can do about it, right?
Yeah.
I'm inspired by people in my life similar to myself. Like, facing problems is
Yeah.
only the first step. The next step is let's get the right people and let's freaking change things.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. If you were stranded on an island and could only bring three things, what would you bring?
Oh my God. Uh, Probably a utility knife.
That's a good one.
Um,
Practical.
I would, I mean, an island, uh, just for safety, I'd probably bring a handful of moringa seeds,
Okay,
so I could grow moringa, and you could live off the moringa.
there you go.
And then probably a boat.
A smart. No one has said a boat. Wait, that's so smart. Why has no one said? Wait, people say the most random stuff. Why has no one said a boat?
So I can have a choice if I want to leave.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. Oh, my cheeks hurt. That is so funny. Why has no one thought? I have asked every guest that question and no one has said a boat. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Okay, there's just a couple more questions. Oh man, all right. If you could change one thing about the world, what would it be?
Turn on this comment switch button and to release um the apathy. I
Mm,
think if we turn common sense on people and release the apathy of delusion.
yeah, that's powerful. What advice would you give your younger self?
Manage your money better in the beginning.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. Jesus.
For sure. That's
Come on. Come
part of
on,
being young
Darin.
though, right? You're just
God.
all right.
Jeez.
Do you have any final words of wisdom for our audience?
I don't know if they're wisdom, but never underestimate the power of connection, and the connection within the space of coming together to lift things up and to create things for not only the world, for people, but the environment. Like, just coming together and connection. I mean, we're literally not doing anything by ourselves.
Hmm.
So find your tribe and double down on the people that demonstrate truth, and and I think that I've learned a lot through partnerships that way, that once you have trust, anything's possible.
Beautifully said. Let's leave it at that. Thank you so much for coming on. All right, that's our show today. Thank you so much to Darin for coming on the show. I had so much fun chatting with him. As you guys could tell, we just vibed out. We just really agreed on so many things, and I learned a lot from talking to him as well. If you guys love the show, be sure to give him some love over on Instagram. I will leave the direct link in the show notes below. And as always, share on Instagram on your stories, tag us, and share on any social media platforms that you love. Be sure to share with a friend. And again, give us a review over on Apple Podcasts or comment down on YouTube if you are watching the video version of this, because we just appreciate it so much. It is literally the best way to support the show. It keeps us going, it keeps us thriving, and it keeps us getting new guests and just being able to do this every single week. Well, actually every other week now. But with that said, I hope you guys have an incredible day, whatever is left of your day today. For me, it's the afternoon, so I'm hoping to get a gym session in and just get some sun on my face. It's been raining a lot here in San Diego, and I'm seeing the sun poking out through the clouds, so I think it's a sign that I need to get outside. So if the sun is poking out where you are too, be sure to get outside, get that vitamin D. God knows we need it after the winter that we've had. And just have some time for yourself, because you absolutely deserve it. Okay, I'll see you in the next one, and yeah, love you. Bye.